Mm. Okay. Let's see, Mary. If you're there, can you unmute me and we'll see if the laptop works?
You're unmuted.
Okay. Great.
I just had to refresh my screen.
Okay.
Oh, so how's it going?
Well, well, as you say, I spilled my guts. I mean, Tracy was crabby going out the door. And so, and marriage is for better, or for worse. So we're going to work it. We're working it. Ah, but it worked out because I was worried that if she oversleeps, then I'll just won't be able to do the program if I have to take her to work. So her light was on, so she was out the door, and so that worked out. And my new plan is I gave Josh medicine, and I might take my bedtime medicine at 10 because I was last Friday when we did this. It was I was a hard time getting to sleep, and then I didn't get 7.5 hours sleep, so I was dragging the next day. So I'm working the system to be able to be asleep uh, by 10:45. So we'll see what happens.
Well, we can always change the days or the times too. This isn't set in stone.
Yeah, I mean, for now, I like Wednesday. If we're going to do 2 days a week, Wednesdays and Fridays uh, work fine. I mean that's the time when Tracy's usually working because she's off some Mondays and Tuesdays and some Saturdays and Sundays she's off. So I think that Wednesdays and Fridays work the best because I don't want to. She doesn't really understand or support what I'm doing, so I don't want to take time away from her. Because like tonight, putting the I was starting the laptop, and she said, "Well, you missed your meeting. You have it every Wednesday night." I said, "It's only once a month," and so it's sideways anger like that because she doesn't feel good. So,
But that's the tough part.
mhm.
Um, in families when you have kids that are special.
Yeah,
You know,
mhm.
one wants to talk about, the other one wants to hide it in the closet.
Yeah, yep,
And I
and
go
that,
through that too.
yeah,
I mean,
hmm
I've been doing what I've been doing for 10 years non-professionally, professionally for the last 7.
great,
And my husband to this day cannot tell you what I do.
yeah, and that's kind of sad that I'm in the same boat that Tracy doesn't support what I'm doing. I mean, it's so I hope I'm hoping that that I'm hoping he does support and appreciate, and
He
so
appreciates that his son now talks
good,
and we have less temper tantrums.
great, hmm
But so where we're struggling through right now is, so my son is very into animals.
hmm
And so he is also into the weather and natural disasters.
yeah,
And so with the California fires, he's been watching and studying it, and he's all about saving animals and stuff like that, but he's also very in a fireman phase.
hmm
So to him, all fires are bad.
yeah,
And the concept of a bonfire in your backyard scares the living crap out of him, to the point that it is a full meltdown, hyperventilating, crying, grabbing buckets or cups of water to put it out.
yeah,
And so Me and Dad get into the big fight about it because he's like, he needs to get over it. Yeah, eventually he does.
Yeah.
But,
Mhm.
a regular kid, you just tell them to go in the house and ignore it, they're able to do that.
Yeah.
Special kids, they get that fixation that it's wrong, it's not right, we need to fix the situation.
Yep. Yep. That's the autism coming in.
So it ends up being a weekend night, just fight and yell and him crying and upset because the fire is going, and
Hmm.
mom loses it because, I have more empathy.
Yeah. Hmm.
And we had the big scare this week. We had the severe storms that went through, started Texas and actually went up through Minnesota here.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we had the funnel cloud form over the house,
Yeah.
and the tornadoes hit the town next to us. We didn't have any, thank God. But we
Hmm.
had the hail and everything else, and my daughter's freaking out. We're gonna die. We're gonna die. We're gonna die.
Yeah.
Then my son sleeps through the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my.
I'm like, I was just thankful he slept, because then the last time we had storms like that a couple years ago was when we had to all go to the basement. And for the longest time, it took years for him to go back into that basement.
Yep.
And mom spends half her day in the basement. So I need them to come down to get me.
Yeah. Well, I've seen him downstairs with you, unless you were upstairs.
Oh no, I'm always down. If you see a green screen, then I'm
Yeah.
downstairs.
Right. So I've seen him come downstairs, and he seemed happy.
Yeah.
Um.
New
So that
house.
right. Hmm. Hmm.
My old house,
Well,
the basement was finished and nice.
say that again about the house.
Our old house, the basement was all finished.
Ah.
The new house, it's not.
Hmm.
And we're working on building a studio in the basement slash family room.
Yep.
So what are we gonna talk about today?
Well, are we late getting started? Because it's 9:35.
No.
Okay, I didn't know if the official time was 9:30 or whenever. I mean, it.
It's-
One of the things is, since it's a radio show that's internet, then right. Okay. Well, what we going to talk about? Um, what popped up is we can talk about what we talked. We can talk about um, the children being very rigid. I think that um, we can talk about your son and my son with things just like we discussed, because that's top of mind. Um, I think that to talk about our spouses on the radio show could, that would, if this ever blew up and got really excited. I heard Rob with that lady Mary on the radio show, so
You
that would
do
be.
know I host more than one show on this platform, and I do
I
talk about my
do,
husband a lot.
I do, and I've got to. I'm going to start listening to them all. Are they archived? I mean, I'm backing off the political stuff, so I
They
need
are
to.
all archived. There's all different shows for different days of the week. And so Monday mornings is Wake Up Reveille, and I
Hmm.
co-host with a Air Force veteran, and we talk about poli- political, but
Hmm.
also different things that affect veterans and service members.
Great.
Um, Coming back next week is Hometown Heroes, and we highlight and interview business owners and different people of what they do to make the world a better place. Tuesday is all about travel and how you can be a travel agent and bring income home in, or how you can travel at a discount and how travel can help your health. And I co-created neurodiverse travel, which is how to help families with special kids travel.
Yeah, that's great. 'Cause
Wednesday is health and nutrition on a practical aspect, and
mhm,
we talk a lot of different. They talk a lot of different things about, um, like food dyes and how to eat healthier, where you can still have the cake. You just have a piece, not the whole cake. And
yeah,
we have a certified registered dietitian who works for the state of New York
mhm,
in food scarcity programs.
great.
Um, Thursday is all about family. Wednesday is also our show. Friday is Captain Len Kane and Unveiling Valor, almost
Mhm,
90-year-old man who built the Malamar Naval Academy and was the original Top Gun,
mhm,
among many other accolades in his life.
yep,
And then our show again, and Friday or Saturday mornings is Week in Review, which we go over
great.
different topics of the shows of different throughout the week. And this theme this week is going to be on Mother's Day
Mhm,
because she's going to be out of town the week after.
yeah, yep. I gotta figure out what we're gonna do on Mother's Day. Yeah, because I try to take her out to dinner. We might go the night before or that night because Sunday is Sunday morning is jammed. Um, but yeah, that so is there a website or a pod? Is there a place where all these shows are at one spot?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've probably given it to me before, but instead of trying to find the merry links, I could just ask you what it is because I do save all your stuff.
So all you have to do is search, depending on what platform you want to listen to it on.
Hmm.
So we have Optimize My Life is on every podcast platform.
Hmm.
And so all I have to do is just search Optimize My Life, or you can listen to it on Podbeam or follow us on the
Okay.
Skylar Network.
Well, great. Well, let's start with Spotify. Well, I'm going to start with Spotify. I'm going to search for Optimize My Life. Okay.
Ugh.
Okay. Put my glasses on. Well, I have them on. I don't have my good ones. Okay. Well, it didn't come up, but I'll keep looking. Optimize My Life. Mary Stanley. And there's no D in it. Well, it's not coming up on that on
Yeah,
Spotify.
give me a
So
minute. All right, the link is in the chat.
I probably spelt it wrong. Okay. Yeah, I think I spelled optimize wrong. There, it fixed it. Okay. Well, I'll find the chat here. Let's go back to our show. Look at all these great links. This is great. Then open up all these links and then I'll save them. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, I don't listen to the show and after I do it because then I get too much in my head.
Hmm. Yeah. And you don't need anything else to do. Like I need to. I mean, um, you don't need to think, okay, well, I need to fix this. I need to fix things, which may not be what you meant, but that's another. but that's good. You move on to something else.
I listen to other podcasts to learn about the newest trends,
Hmm.
new ideas, and the latest.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Let's see.
Some reason my microphone switched.
Yeah, I switched from the one on the laptop to one on the on the you got your headset one, then you have the one built in.
Yeah, no, from the one that's on my camera. So I have a portable camera, but I don't use it for the show. So
Hmm.
let's talk a little bit about rigid
Yep.
rigidity, but also
Right.
masking.
Okay. Yeah. So masking is more of a yeah. You'll explain that to me when we get going. So yeah, I got it. I mean, I know the general idea of it. So this will be great.
Because it goes hand in hand.
Hmm.
You know, yes, a- and I look at it, rigidity is not always a bad thing. They got to have it their way or it has to be done a certain way. And we're all like that.
Hmm.
The way the dishes are washed, the way you sweep a floor sometimes, the way you mop a floor, you know, just different things in the house and how things are set up to just life in general. We're all a little rigid,
Right.
but because they're kids more than anything, it's termed as a bad thing because they got to have it a particular food or they got to have things like routines.
Hmm.
Now, some people take the routine thing way too far, where they live by literally a calendar, time organized all day long, every day.
Yeah.
You need to break that up a little bit
Hmm.
because we need them to overcome some of that rigidity for the sense that, COVID hit.
Yeah.
Therapies were canceled. Everything was their worlds were turned upside down, and you had a world and that's the one part about COVID that really bugged me is they never talked about they always complained about the kids in school, but they never actually complained about or talked about the kids on special needs who have all these services they go to every day that
Yeah.
were canceled.
Right.
Or if they weren't canceled, you had to wear masks,
Yeah.
which was the worst thing in the world, for
Yeah.
at least for my kid.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah. I mean, it's a yep. It was terrible. I mean, I did the yeah. I mean, with Josh, I just said he has autism. He's not going to wear it. We went into Walmart and even I'm going back and watching. When I watch a show like with yours, I'll try to go. I'll go back to the beginning and listen to all the episodes. Um, I'll try to do that. I should make a promise I can't keep, but if there's a podcast that I really like, I'm really learning a whole lot from, then I will.
All
And
right.
so,
Well, here's the thing, Rob.
yep,
Optimize My Life used to be on the Hope Collection Radio.
uh huh,
It's been on for 15 years.
yep,
There's over 15,000 shows.
ah, yep. I won't go back that far, but
So,
right,
so you're never going to listen to them all.
yeah, mm-hmm, nope,
But I look at the rigidity at times as a positive
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
because I know my kid is not going to be the dumb kid doing the dumb thing. that my kid's gonna be the smart kid conning all the dumb kids into doing something stupid.
Yeah.
He's gonna be the one standing there watching it.
Yeah. And that's yeah. I mean, that's what popped in my head. That's a good problem to have. Hmm.
You know, they're harder to manipulate
That's good. That
compared
makes
to
me.
average kids.
That's good. That makes me feel better because I don't like them. Um, yep, that's good because I don't I don't I've been manipulated my whole life and so that's if the higher functioning autistic kids are have a way have a BS detector where they're not going to be manipulated, that's good because
Well,
I'm right.
even look at Josh though.
Hmm.
He sticks to his guns too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Until, before you start explaining things to him and you just this is how it's gonna be, he just looked at you and in his way told you to shove it.
Yep.
Once you start explaining things and started working with him more, is the more he started to understand things differently and made changes. And that's
Right.
the big thing is so many people look at these kids, especially when the nonverbal or the more support help needed kids,
Hmm.
is just because they're not speaking, they're dumb and they don't
Yeah.
understand what you're saying. When given the chance, they understand everything you're saying. You just may need to talk slower, put a little more pauses in what you say,
Hmm.
but watch their reaction. You know, and there's days that no kid's gonna cooperate.
Yeah.
There's days where I can get my kid to go to the store out of nowhere, like, "All right, we gotta go. My mom needs to get something for dinner. I forgot to pick this up. We need to go to the store now."
Hmm.
And he's willing to put his shoes on and he's willing to go out the door. There's other days where his is not going anywhere. And I'm picking him up, carrying him to the car, kicking and screaming. And he sits in the car, doesn't go in the store with me.
Hmm.
It just depends on the mood and what their sensory output has been that day.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is communication is the key.
Hmm.
And compromise. Like our goal for my son this year is compromise.
Hmm.
Instead of the tub being full, water has to be shut off when gets to that point of the tub where the little valve thingy is,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
it has to drain to half full to turn more water on.
Right.
Otherwise, he floods my basement and my desk.
Right. Yep.
And so he'll now come and tell you, well, it's half full, half full, half full.
Hmm. That's great. So you're making progress with that and with
Some
yeah.
days, and
Hmm.
it's like any kid though. Some days it'll work, and some days it's just you're gonna bang your head against that wall and fight with them every tooth and nail, every direction.
Interesting.
And that's the same, it's more talked about with normal kids
Hmm.
or with special kids than normal kids. And a big part of that is because most normal kids will throw a fit and go to their room. They'll
Yeah.
stomp off somewhere where
Hmm.
they will stay in your face.
Right. Yeah. They won't take no for an answer.
And they do not take "I said so" for an answer.
Yeah.
It
They
needs to
don't
be a
understand.
logical response.
Yep.
But part of it too, and I really believe, is that it's a standard is set higher for special kids compared to normal kids.
Hmm.
These kids are always expected to behave. They're always expected to follow and do what they're supposed to do. And if there's not, then oh my god. we're gonna get so much more frustrated over it than with a normal kid. It's
And I
like,
wonder I wonder
go ahead.
why that is, because I guess our kids are under the spotlight, so people are watching us and they're judging us and they're saying, "Well, let's see how good mom and dad do," when the parents aren't applying that to their own kids. Well, okay, they've got a disability, a lifelong thing. Let's judge how well they're doing, but they can't look in the mirror and look at what their kids are doing.
Right? Well, it's like, so I never understood this. So in a regular classroom, the kids with ADHD, the kids that are just little pain in the asses, and the kids with labels all end up in the front so the teachers can see you better.
Yeah,
It's like you're waiting for them to misbehave. You're waiting for them to do something stupid so that
right.
you can yell at them. Well, instead of letting them be in the back of the classroom so that they can wiggle around and do things and be little turds that they're gonna be anyway. But
Yeah,
now they're not disrupting the whole class, they're only disrupting a couple kids.
yeah, and I think that goes that boys have lots of energy, and the liberal teachers who are ladies don't understand how boys operate, and they need recess, and then a lot of them are on. You put them on this ADHD medicine, which may or may not be necessary, depends on the child, but that's overprescribed. And when you just I mean, that's what us coaches and advocates for special needs children do. We say, no, just stop there and let's think. I mean, stop, open your mind to the possibility that you could have things wrong. You're going to work with these kids. Then let's not be obsessed. Let's not be afraid or embarrassed or whatever emotion is coming up for you when somebody gives you a teaching or a different opinion. Let's be open minded.
Right, well, let's communicate for starters, so we ended up getting a new special education coordinator in the middle of the year
Hmm.
because our one we had got transferred to the high school because she's so good with these older kids, which
Good.
is fine. Great lady, love her to death. So the
Hmm.
new lady, I have not met her, talked to her once. And so she calls me today. I had no idea who the hell she was. Called me today about setting up an IEP meeting for my daughter for next week. Her teacher calls me and had to look it up because her teacher didn't even know who she was.
Yeah.
And she's got no background at all. None of her workers or teachers know who she is. She has
Yeah.
no contact with any of us. It's like, how can you run an IEP meeting? How can you set goals? How can you advocate for my kid if you don't even know who my kid is?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so can you calmly educate her?
She don't want to talk to me about it. I tried
Mm,
today. And
okay.
so I'm talking to the head of the special education department and filing a complaint. And the
Mm,
head has been at every meeting.
yeah.
So we're gonna basically not deal with her,
Yeah.
and we're gonna hold our usual IEP meeting like we normally do, where I set up goals for
Hmm.
her for next year. Like, so she used to struggle with reading. Now she can read really well.
Good.
And now, so her goals for next year are gonna be, we didn't focus on math this year.
Yeah.
We decided that one class was enough or one subject was enough.
Hmm.
So she wasn't getting burned out because she was getting overwhelmed trying to
Yeah.
learn math and read at the same time. So
Right.
now next year, we're not going to focus so much on the reading, but on the writing aspect, writing sentences, paragraphs, things like that.
Hmm.
And then focus on her math, learning to count because she's got dyscalculia.
Hmm.
So she has a hard time with numbers and math. And one day she's really good at it, the next day she's not. There's no
Yeah.
consistency.
That's yeah, and that's interesting because both your kids are that way from I'm discovering from tonight's visit, and that's interesting. Um, Yeah. I mean, Josh is really the same all the time. He doesn't really have good days and bad days. I mean, if he gets like his self-injurious behavior, I mean, there's not one day that it's worse or better. Um, so that's interesting because that's why there is no antecedent that we can point to on the catatonia. I am looking at that differently since last episode when he could be, you know, is there is there some overstimulation? I don't think so. But I'm rethinking that.
Okay. So when he starts having these episodes, has he been on more car rides than normal?
No, no. I mean they were no nothing.
Has he,
There's no yeah no antecedent that we can think of.
does he do more bath time than normal?
No.
Because the bath time, the water, and the car rides seem to be his regulation thing.
Yeah. Mhm.
So if
Yep.
he's been wanting more car rides than normal, or more insistent on the car rides, or if he's wanting in the tub more often or drinking more often, because you look at all the different things he
Mhm.
does something, and this is where you got to keep a list of
Right.
when the catatonia kicks in, was he doing something more than normal?
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that the next time it kicks in and
Well, you want to keep track of it before it kicks in so you can have a baseline.
right. Mhm.
And
Yeah,
that
no,
way you can
we're
start picking
yeah.
out different events that happen to see when,
Mhm.
and with catatonia, it's a little bit harder because
Mhm.
that's an extreme case.
Yeah.
So that means it wasn't just one event. It's a bunch of events come together. And
Mhm.
with burnout like that, which is what catatonia is
Mhm.
it could have been events over a period of time. So like if he had a hard week
Yeah.
and he's had more meltdowns during the week.
Yeah.
And it's even harder because he's nonverbal. So you have to look at all the cues and all the body language. Was his sleep schedule off out of whack?
Mhm.
And I have a chart. Remind me tomorrow and I'll send it to you that you can fill out.
Mhm.
Copy it or print it out or fill it out on your phone, however you want to do it. And it just gives you an idea of like different sensory issues. And
Mhm.
it's subtle things too. It can be something as simple as um clothes not fitting quite right and being uncomfortable, seams in the clothes.
Mhm.
Like my daughter will wear her clothes inside out on purpose
Mhm.
because she don't like the way the seams are.
Yeah.
It could be a blanket being itchy or the weather.
Yeah. And lately, the only time he goes into them is if I forget to give him the medicine at 3 o'clock, and because so when I forget and he gets it at 4 o'clock, then he'll go into one of the events almost every time. And so the medicine is holding it back um, because before we found out it was catatonia, I mean, we went through the 5 years of 4 nights a week of him going into these events, and so
And I
yeah.
don't want to be mean, but
Hmm.
the way, don't take this the wrong way.
Hmm. It's all learning.
But
Hmm.
no, it's just I don't know the politically nice way or correct way to say this.
Hmm.
But sometimes it could be the way your wife interacts with him because you say she's the enforcer and Josh is
Hmm.
not a little scared of her, I guess you could say in a way.
Yeah, he's scared that she's gonna, and he's not scared of her. He's scared that she's gonna interrupt his um, his fun. He's gonna stop his
Mhm.
fun. So I didn't
Right.
notice that until after we found out it was catatonia, but we've been going on for this for that could be a factor that it just
Especially if
started.
she's a
Yeah.
little crabby, he might pick up on that.
Yeah. Um, she's never really around because she works all the time. And but if we're having an argument, we don't really argue. That's the problem. I'm a pushover, so we don't that 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 yeah. I mean, that's something. I mean, it doesn't really click on. That's the antecedent
No, and
now.
it might not be. It's just we're looking
You
at
know,
different aspects of what it
we're
could
looking at
possibly be.
different. Yeah, what could it be that what started it. I mean, like right now when it pops up, there's some the medicine is holding it back.
Right.
So before then we were it was just all the time. I mean, that's why I'm thinking it's medical and not behavioral because I never saw and yeah, that's why I'm thinking it's medical, not behavioral. And I'm an open mind.
It
I
could be
mean,
both. With, the
it could be both.
epilepsy, you know,
Hmm.
there
I
could be
mean,
something cross, especially since you said he hasn't really had a seizure in a long time.
no, he hasn't had a seizure. Let's see if he's 23, because I have to look back and figure out, when all the I could do that with PRN events because I've been saving them, um, those emails. Um, but but yeah. So yeah, I was trying to figure out okay when he had a seizure and then when the catatonia started and when it ended because all these things, they all run in my head. I mean, after oh, let's see. So PRN, I got 125 of many of 50. Let's see. Keep going back 75, 100, 125, 150, 175, 183. So I've got 183 PRN events. So this was um, with you see this may be when Travis started in 2019. So they were going on. They went on from 2000, March of 2019 um, until Dr. Barbosa put a stop to them in probably 22. Uh, yeah, Dr. Barbosa visit. So I could go back. Yeah, so just for rough, we had Dr. Barbosa in 23 in February of 23. Um, so so yeah, they were so that's 3 years, 4 years. 19 to 23 is 4 years, and maybe before that, because I don't think they were doing before Travis started because I don't. So maybe it was just 4 years. Um, yeah, so that's interesting. Hmm.
With autism, it's kind of like the Rubik's Cube puzzle.
Right, I've used that. I came up with that the other, or I stole it from you, and I used that, and I had I impressed a couple of other coaches with that.
It's a puzzle that is like next to impossible to solve, but
Hmm.
people that live in that world.
Hmm.
And that's the hard part is, no two cases are the same, no two people are alike. And so you just never know how. I mean, it's the human brain. It's
Yeah.
just the world that we live in.
Hmm.
And it gets harder and harder the more scare tactics that are out there. It's an epidemic. It can, we're going to prevent it from happening. And, when you start saying it like that, then it looks at like, as a parent, it's like, what did we do wrong? Why, how do we cause this?
Yeah, and that's um, and that's the problem that parents. I mean, they're overwhelmed and they don't know when they're being manipulated for good or for bad. Now, since I'm the Pollyanna, want to see good in everything, then I'm not saying people are deliberately manipulating us. They mean well and they say things that aren't practical. And so, what's a parent to do when their 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 child, they're overwhelmed with their child, they're overwhelmed with all this great information in and out, and who do they believe? And then they have their own baggage from the past, and they're trying to get along with their spouse. Hopefully, there is a spouse. So there's layers upon layers of obstacles
Well, then
to
you've
work
got
through.
even the adults who are on the spectrum.
Yeah,
I was talking to a friend of
yeah.
mine. She was in a networking meeting, and this hypnotherapist flat out told her, I can cure you of your autism.
I mean, that's
And well, first of all, she doesn't think there's anything wrong with her being autistic, which is great. She's a sweet, sweet lady. I love
yeah.
her to death.
Hmm.
But for someone to, to say that to somebody, that's just one false hope because you can't use hypnotherapy. Traditional hypnotherapy does not work on autistic individuals. There are ways to modify it to
Hmm.
make it work to overcome and adjust some of the wiring in the brain.
Yeah,
But to tell you you're going to be cured of it is just wrong. And there's so many organizations that that tell you that I can cure you. You pay me a
yeah,
buttload of money and we're going to cure your kid.
yeah. And those are flat out scams, and the parents they're hanging on, they're being scammed. And the other thing that happens is you have what I call success stories, and I've got a file in here somewhere with success stories. And when you're in that denial phase, then you hang on to these success stories because you think, for the lower functioning, well, I mean, it's whatever. You think my kid is gonna, from low functioning to high functioning, or from medium functioning to, I'm not gonna, he's gonna be Bill Gates or Elon, and I'm not gonna have to worry about him. And that's about the parents. So these con artists are preying on the people that are in that stage, and that's where we can help. I mean, that's, the foot up the butt mentoring that you'll do to explain it to them, and then the coaching that I'm going to do to create a safe place for them to talk about what's going on. Yep.
Great, you're going to bed in a half an hour. Oh my dear Lord. Girls in emergencies. Mom, you gotta come see this.
Hmm.
It's important.
Yeah.
She's downloading a stupid game on the Switch, Animal Crossing game. I'm thinking, oh my god, I gotta come up here and see this. I'm thinking her brother's running around outside naked again.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, that's okay. Um, I was saying that these parents are, they're getting it from both ends. That they're being, and when they're in denial, they're being conned and taken advantage of,
Oh yeah.
and then they're latching on to these turnaround stories. That's what I call them, because they want their child not to be taken advantage of, and they, whether they're low functioning or high functioning.
And
Oh,
it is possible to go from low functioning to high functioning.
sure. Well, your son did it. You're a
What?
case study.
Yeah. But
And
what I
mhm,
truly believe we need to do here in the US is not focus so much on what caused it,
yeah,
but focus more on creating standards. We're the only country in the world that you can be an autism specialist in the coaching field without having training.
yeah, yeah. I
You
mean,
you can
that's what right, because that's what I'm doing right now. There's no rules that I can't. I mean, I'm just coaching, but I see what you're saying. Yeah. Hmm.
what you do is a little different. You work
Yeah.
with families, you work with dads to help them deal
Right.
with the stress of life,
Right. Yeah.
compared to what I do, which I teach families how to work with their kids. But
Right.
I am certified and trained internationally,
That's right.
because for me to work overseas, I have to be certified or I can be charged with impersonating a medical professional.
Right. Yep. Yep.
I'm required to carry insurance, among other
Hmm.
things.
Yep. Yep.
You're not required to do any of that here in the US.
Yeah. And if we could have some more, yeah. I mean, we got to weed out the charlatans. On the other hand, I'm not for a whole bunch of regulation. I uh, I think that
No, I
it
just think you should be board certified. If you're gonna work as a medical professional and help families deal with I can help you overcome your issues.
yeah. Well, so
Then
if
you
they
should be
were more,
trained to do it.
that's right, and what that would help. So that would help with the charlatans that they're not going to bother to try to con people if they got to get certified, and if the parents know that well, what is your certification? And what's good or bad about that is that, well, it's good and bad, is that people nowadays, they're not asking, nobody's asked me if I'm ICF certified. Now it's not your degrees or certification. It says, do I connect with you and do I think you can solve my problem? And that's so if a con artist can, I mean, people are, I mean, the con artists may be conning more people because we've got away from asking for or certifications and what's your experience and what's your resume and what are your degrees and all
Right.
that.
Well, it's like that, water, what's it called?
Hydrotherapy or
No,
the,
it's that drink. It's like that special water.
oh, the ASEA water.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That is literally oxygenated water. It doesn't do anything for you. It's
Mm-hmm.
placebo. So they've got testimony on there about how, from a medical doctor that tells you, oh yeah, how this is real. But if you
Mm-hmm.
look farther into it, there is actually no scientific research, independent research done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's all sold in house. The doctors are paid for in house.
Right, right.
And I had a buddy of mine who's a certified dietitian call the company and ask the company, what does it do? She was more confused talking to them, talking in circles, explaining the same things on the literally, they read the website.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Things like that. Because I've been in meetings with these people and they tell you how they can cure autism. They can fix the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, how? And they'll have some person come on, tell you how their kids started talking 2 days later.
Yeah.
It's like now, some of the newest trends and studies that have been done is, um, not, oh God, what is it? That fever in, sleeping sickness.
Mm-hmm.
They've experimented with sleeping sickness shots,
Mm-hmm.
and what it does is it basically, freezes the brain a little bit, shuts down some of the parts of the brain, so
Mm-hmm.
kids started talking. It works. Here's the thing, though, you can only have 2 shots of this because it overstimulates and it can kill you.
Yeah, and that's right. I mean, I love the success stories, and if you can duplicate it, great. I mean, it's. I'm just glad that those parents, um, they made the turnaround stories is great for them, and instead of being jealous, the piece that I'm getting now is I'm jealous that they've had the success, and I want to find a way to duplicate it before I die in 45 years. Um, and I'm going to say, well, good for them that they.
Well, one
Mhm,
of the treatments that we're fighting very hard to get passed here in the
mhm,
US that they've had
mhm,
huge success rates
mhm.
over in, the Middle East
Yeah.
is using the hyperbaric chambers
Mhm.
and reoxygenating the blood in the brain and things like that and re-stimulating the brain differently.
Yeah.
They've had a lot of success with that, and they
Mhm.
use those things over there all over the world and even India.
Yeah.
Another treatment that's been duplicatable all over the world and been studied is, getting tested for the protein barrier in your DNA, and they
Mhm.
give you this, medication that they give cancer patients to help because that's one of the things that happens with the chemo is it's a protein block in your brain, so your not body's not absorbing the proteins and the
Yeah.
folic acid. So when they give you the shot, it shuts down that barrier, and so your body absorbs more of that protein and that folic acid, which helps the brain. And
Yeah.
they've had a lot of success with that shot actually helping kids communicate better, helping talking, a few other things.
Mhm. Yeah. And the excitement that I'm feeling right now is that with the ASEA and the LifeWave, those were all people that were selling a product. Now they may or may not. I'm going to be nice and say they really believe in it. They're also selling a product where what you're doing is you're observing these things and you're looking into the data and you're able so this is exciting because that's like on Alignable I met all these people, Dr. Grant and the ASEA and the LifeWave, and that was exciting that and I wanted to try all this stuff one at a time, but now with your guidance, then I'm going to be more prudent. So I'm excited about what you just said there.
When I do research, I don't just research the US. I get the latest reports from Germany, Japan,
Yeah.
Australia, Israel is another big one.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so I'm looking at the same study done in 5 different places over 10, 15 years and seeing how the
Yeah.
results are similar. That's when
Hmm.
I recommend things,
Good
like
deal.
having the DNA test done to see if you carry the protein blocker.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
do consult with a few different neurologists with different
Yeah.
things and get the background that way too.
Hmm.
And that's the big part is with autism, you can't just do it by yourself and you can't have one doctor. You gotta have a team behind you.
I've been saying that. That's what I've been saying for years. Because you can't. And as you do a team, then you can figure out the. You just learn so much at evaluating people's motives, and you get different philosophies. And yeah, you got to have a team. I mean, and I go for two different people. Like when I talk money, I say you need your guy that's into crypto and then your guy that's not, because both of them have value. The traditional mutual fund guy and but you when both of them are radical and says you can't do mutual funds, you can't do crypto, that's when boot you got to get rid of those people that are not open minded. I mean, is is that what you do when you're evaluating when you're meeting with these neurologists? Is that a red flag when they're very radical about one thing or another?
Um, the first red flag is because I don't have a medical degree yet and I don't
Mhm.
have a psychological degree. When I ask them questions, they don't look at me like I'm a dumb mom.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're not dismissing you as a dumb mom. They're curious. This mom knows her shit, and I can learn something from this mom, or maybe I can recommend this mom. So if they, yeah, so their first red flag, do they pass? Uh, yeah, right, that's great.
Then the second red flag for me is what medications are they going to push? Like,
Right.
there
Yeah.
for instance, there's a new drug on the market for autism, not designed for autism, but it's supposed to help regulate temper tantrums or calm down or, meltdowns.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a okay.
I am one of those that unless it's a medical need and he can function without it, then he doesn't need it.
Amen.
You know he's on a med for his I found out actually broke down the 2 meds he's on. One is for stomach, um, muscle spasms,
Hmm.
and the other one is for, his acid in his stomach, and it helps with his liver.
Yeah.
And before that, he really wasn't eating. Now when he's taking these meds, 1, it helps him sleep, but 2, it really helps him eat and digest his food. So, like, he will eat regular food now,
Great.
you
Great.
know? And for when I notice when he doesn't take it, it's not something he has to take all the time, but if he goes
Mhm.
without it for a period of time, you can tell his stomach gets sour.
Interesting.
And so, he does have issues with his stomach, and I did too for a good chunk of my life
Hmm.
growing up.
Yeah. Yep. And that's the other thing that is that he is a combination, a reflection of you and your husband's DNA. So there's stuff that's going to pop up with it, and so and that's all part of it. Yeah, the big news is that we're getting that Dr. Barbosa is cutting us loose to. We're going to go to U of L psychiatric because he was at the children's place, but the only other place. Well, that's a good question. I think what's Mary going to say? Mary's going to say there can't be just one other place that does the autism stuff. So anyway, we got a referral to U of L University Louisville Psychiatric, and so that's
Well,
a.
that's the sad part is there's only a few places. Like, we got lucky, and this is the only reason I live in the middle of nowhere, Minnesota,
Hmm.
is because my kids can go to the Rochester Mayo Health System,
Right?
one of the top hospitals in the country.
Yeah,
That is the only thing keeping me here.
yeah, and that's right. And there are yeah, that there are parents that that move around that move to different cities for their children, and so that's always on the table, and that's great.
You know, for actual therapies, I'd have to drive 2 hours to go to an ABA therapist if I chose to do that.
Hmm.
There aren't a lot of facilities, and that's the thing that needs to change is we need to see more medical doctors actually trained and take the time to train in this issue.
Right. That's right.
We were told by our old clinic that we would go to that we need to go to a different one because we know nothing about autism. The standard doctor doesn't get more than a class of training on autism. That's it.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that's the sad part is there's so many people that don't know and aren't trained in it. So they have no idea how to help.
Yeah. Because and especially the older doctors that was since this explosion, like if I say the past 20 years, that if a doctor is has been got his training 30 years ago, then he didn't have any classes on it, and now the schools they've got to they've got to step up their game.
Well, and that's it.
And
Doctors have to take continuing ed. You have to have so
yeah,
many
that's
hours.
right, to get your boards, they call it.
Well,
Yeah,
keep
I've
your
heard.
boards.
Yeah, that's right. That so this should be This should be on a requirement for when you go do your boards, as the doctors talk about.
Yeah.
Amen.
There should be more doctors wanting to take it as a field. And part of the reason why it's not is it was always considered a psychological condition. So therapists, and here's the messed up part, because it was deemed a psychological condition, even therapists aren't trained in it.
Yeah. Yep, that's bad because we're stuck in the middle of there's medical things and there's therapy things that both can help. And
But the World Health Organization has ruled that autism is not a psychological disorder, it is a neurological disorder.
well, that's good because they can push one side of it and the US doctors can push another side of it. So that there again, it sounds like a good problem to have if we've got two camps.
Well, and that's why psychological therapies don't work.
Yeah,
That's where you get the masking. That's where you get all these no progress because it isn't a psychological, it's a neurological. So
yeah,
there's different activities you do for the neurological part and the brain wiring and all that stuff to help see impact. And that's where a more neurologists need to train in it and understand it.
yep,
And there should be, what it should be is when your kid's diagnosed, there should be a plan put together from your doctor because you have to go to see a doctor when you go through the testing
yeah,
where you have a list of doctors that you should coordinate, that you talk
hmm
to and coordinate with
yeah,
based on your issues. Do you have the neurologist? Do you have if you have stomach issues, is it,
hmm
other than, go see a therapist?
yeah. Well, our town did good. I mean, the 20 years ago when we did it, when we got diagnosed at the Wise Call Center, our team was doing stuff like that. So I feel like we had a good approach, and that needs to continue um, in the small towns too. And that's what when we get somebody from a small town, then you can um, mentor them or give them a list and say these are all the doctors that need to be on your radar screen depending on your child.
And that's if those doctors have an opening. And if they do have an opening, is it 6 months from now?
Yeah, like my doctor, I'm excited like that. Well, I mean, I'm excited to get a different uh, opinion about the the catatonia and all this medicine that Josh is on, that Dr. Williams put him on, trying to stop something that she didn't know what it was at her end of retirement. And then I got Dr. Barbosa. Okay, well, she knows a lot and very opinionated, and one of these doctors that doesn't like to be questioned. So I'd like to find, a nice doctor that's more like me that I can talk to, and so we'll see what this doctor says. And Travis, uh, he used to work at the psychiatric hospital, and he had three doctors. And I asked the lady, "Can we get these one of these three doctors?" And they go, "Well, no, they're at Our Lady of Peace, and this is U of L Psychiatric, and they only do video." Whatever, I can't think of the word. I'm too tired. Just
Oh,
video
telemedicine.
telemedicine. And so I just said, okay, well, we'll go with this guy because Tracy knows that building and it'll be easy to park. And I told Travis, I said, well, they wouldn't, those doctors weren't an option. And so for now, let's meet this guy. And then if I don't think he's a good fit, then I will go to Our Lady of Peace. And Our Lady of Peace will have to see him to do the initial visitation. Well, it's not going to be telehealth. This is just a nice lady who knows her shit's been there a while. I mean, you're talking to, um, and that's fine. I mean, she's the intake coordinator, and when I called it's a long story, but I can tell she knows her stuff, and I just stumped her with that question, and she threw out that answer, and for now, I'll go with that. It's fine. It's a good problem to have. My favorite. You can charge me a tax every time I say that.
But even if they only do telehealth, at least they could recommend somebody.
Sure, sure, yeah, they can. I mean, Travis likes these guys because he worked with them. He worked at the inpatient unit, and one of the big things that he's on is they had this. My guy was talking about, because I know a lot of lower functioning things uh, that like my two guys were talking. My Medicaid manager and Travis at the quarterly meeting were talking about these new rules that the state's all worried about, and um, we can't restrict like Josh's. We can't take something of Josh's away because he's an adult now, and and uh, and one of the things that Travis was taught when he worked at the psych hospital, that they had a sign on there: "Don't give this guy ice because he will throw it on somebody." And he says, "Well, we can't restrict that. We're not going to do that. We're going to." Um, it's kind of hard to explain. It's that um, Travis is an advocate for we're not going to take away these kids' rights. Like one of the things that I automatically did, and it's one of the things that frightens me, that somebody just tells me something, I automatically think this is a good idea, but I'm not going to spend money on it like the ASEA people. But like count uh, Countess, no Constance before Countess. Constance said, "Well, can you put a lock on that door to lock up Josh's clothes? He keeps getting in there and putting on all his clothes that I've got laid out." "Oh, sure, whatever she wants." So I went and ordered the lock, and then I was talking to the behavioralist. I mean, talking. This was a couple of years ago, and Doug, the Medicaid manager, "Oh, well, we'll have to talk to the state about that," because I was just automatically going to do that. No, those are Josh's clothes. If he wants to run in there and take clothes on and off, we can't. You can't do that as an adult. Um, so I don't know.
It's a double-edged sword. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, I can see the idea of the lock, but at the same time, then you're not teaching him anything. You're just blocking the behavior.
That's
You
right, and
know,
that's you get into masking. That maybe that's because I don't want the adults to mask. Okay, I got to pretend I'm not autistic to get this job, to keep this job. No, your boss needs to. We need to take I was not interested in government regulations or more. I think this one, it's I've got the American with Disability Act. You need to do this, or I'm going to sue your ass. Now, why don't you now let me educate you on what I need? I'm an employee. I show up. I don't have the drama. I don't leave you hanging. I'm your best worker. I need these accommodations. So let me educate you. And and
it's one thing putting locks on the patio door, putting, key locks on your front doors for eloping kids,
yeah,
locking their windows so they can't open them so far, so they can't get
right.
out. It's
That's
another thing
right.
locking up your medicine cabinet or locking up the cleaning cabinet.
Right. We do that. That's right.
Mm, and that's
Yeah,
a safety thing. But,
that's a safety thing. Yeah.
you know, it's no different when you childproof 'em when your kid's born. But locking them in their room so they can't get out of their room at night.
Yeah. Now that's a debatable thing, and we do that with Josh. That we've got the half door that it's three-quarters of a door, and at night then I do that. With the medicine, he'll crash and he'll sleep all night, and unless he poops in the bed, or I mean, very rarely, especially with the clonidine, he doesn't wake up. Now, what I do is when, because I'm asleep there, and if he bangs on the door, then I open the door and let him out. And then in the morning, when I get up to get in the shower, I unlock his door, and then he gets up and goes and jumps in the tub, and I've got the doors, or I've got the keypad lock, and I've got it turned around, uh, so he to keep him safe. But um, yeah, I mean that's a um, yeah, I lost what I was going to say. I get too tired. Um, but yeah, that is something that I do for his safety, and but yet I'm right there with him. I mean, I'm laying right there in bed. Well, that's the other thing I thought, that I have his light bulb unscrewed because he'll turn the light on, and I said, Josh, turn that light off. So to keep him sleeping, and I can't handle that light coming in because I want it dark when I sleep. Now, lately, this latest little TV that I brought up, the on and off buttons broke. So it's on all the time with the blue screen. So maybe I can do that. But I'm just thinking out loud that am I, um, you know, am I restricting? Would that be Travis and Doug and State and Mary approved of not having his light bulb and locking him in? I mean, Mary
I
approved. That's
don't
not
lock him
nice.
in, but but yeah, he can't get out, but he still has access to you.
Yes, because because the door, it's a 3/4 door, and he yells and he bangs and he wakes me up. So he's not locked in there. Yeah, he's locked in there, but he's not. But
It's not where
I'm,
you're down the hall in another room and you can't hear him and
no,
he's stuck to his devices. That's a little different.
that's right. And we don't have any dressers. We never. Well, our first steps behavioralist said his room should just be a bed and no dressers, because if he pushes that, he can push those over and climb out. I forgot what her reasoning was. I mean, it was 20 years ago,
Yeah.
but we've done that ever since. In his room is just a mattress on the floor, and that's it. And is that restricting? Uh, I, you know,
It depends on how he sleeps. My son sleeps on the couch with a stockpile of every quilt in my house, and I keep getting them at the Salvation Army because mom just wants a pretty blanket to herself.
yeah,
And
yeah.
every time I bring one in, he takes
He
them. And that is
He
where he
confiscated it. Well,
yeah.
that's right, because he thinks it's his and he doesn't understand, and it's not worth it, my projection, to,
It I sneak them out and wash them, and I'll steal one every so often, but
especially in the wintertime.
yeah, but the
Yeah,
thing is, like, those blankets aren't blankets. So, like, one is the tundra, one is the Arctic, another one's New Guinea, another one they all have names and places. It's like he
but
created his
he
own continent, his whole world on the couch.
so now does he name them that, or do they
Oh,
have those
yeah.
names embroidered? So he named them that.
Yeah.
Great. And it's also it's his comfort that he's, well, it's like it's a weighted blanket. He's created his own weighted blanket, like he created his own with with the life jacket.
Yeah.
And so um what is how do you and your husband and the doctor feel about him not having a firm mattress to sleep on?
Our He's got one, he just chooses not to use it. They have a nice bunk bed in their bedroom. Him
Yeah.
and his sister do. But she's like, "As long as he's sleeping." That's a and that's where my husband gets mad about it because it's our living room.
Hmm.
He's like, "I miss the living room. I miss sitting down and watching TV instead of us sitting in the kitchen on the dining room table watching TV or in the bedroom."
Yeah.
But I don't care. He's sleeping, he's comfortable, that is his safe space, so I let it be.
Yeah.
My daughter decided now she's not sleeping in her bunk bed, she's sleeping in her closet.
Interesting. Well, that's her cocooning.
That
I
is and
that's
she's
her
got
cocooning
her 50 some stuffed animals all lined up around her closet
with
entrance.
Yeah,
It's like her little cave. I'm like,
their
whatever.
little cave, and they've got their whole life to to sleep right. I mean, it's a
I just wish they would have figured this out before I spent $200 on a set of twin beds.
yeah, I know, but it's good for um, I, they need that if they get sick or they got to lay there if an elevated bed where you can put a I mean there's I can from a prepping point of view um yeah I wouldn't get rid of them. I think
Oh,
that
no,
if
they're sitting in there.
no I
We sleep on them more than they do.
well that's fine. Yeah,
You
it's
know,
good
they want
for
us to sleep in the same room. I'm like, "Fine, but I'm sleeping in your bed. I am not sleeping on the floor." This retired from the army. This does no longer sleep on the floor.
no. Well, that's right. And you can um yeah, I mean that's right. That's a good. That's a good. Well,
But we went overtime.
yeah, we went over time and we never did start the show, as far as I can tell. I mean, but we got a lot of things ready for, you know, on Friday, when we have the show, we can talk about masking, and we've just got a lot of good topics, and now I've updated you, and you've told me what's out there on that stuff. So this was a great visit.
Always.
What did you say? Your
And,
radio broke up.
always. And then,
Mhm,
I'll put in the chat on Friday for, support, neurodiversity unmasking group, and
mhm.
that has the latest research in
Yeah,
there. I have a friend of mine who spends hours just going through research and posting it for me.
mhm. That's great. That's great. And if they were on the spectrum, then then that's a great job to do. If they're doing it as a service to help you, they said, "Okay, Mary's drill sergeant torpedoes away. How can I support her?" And and that person's doing it. So that's exciting.
Mhm.
That's great. That's great. Well, you've been. I mean, every time we visit, I learn a new piece. You've been doing this for 10 years, and so I've learned this was great. hmm
That's
And
it.
I updated you on the new doctors and all that stuff. So we're doing good. This was a good visit. So I'm going to take my medicine and crash to bed. So I'll cut you loose, and we'll be ready. We'll be ready for Friday.
Sounds good.
Okay, I'm hitting the hang up button. I never
Alrighty,
tried
so
that
have a good
before.
day, have a good night. We'll see you back here Friday at 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern.
There we
Bye
go.
for
That's
now.
good.